You've been plagued by all of what the modern day has to offer. Social media, junk food, hyper-stimulating music, and even things like pornography. For you, they've been centralized to your life and you've basically been doing these habits on a day-to-day basis. However, you've started to realize that these things aren't actually good. And if anything, they're actually really harming you. You've realized that these habits are just self-destructive and they're actually destroying you. Sometimes you reminisce on what life was like as a kid and you basically start to picture up that when you were a kid, when you were a few years younger, life was so much better. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how you can reclaim your life back and take what's actually yours. I want you to reclaim the happy younger self that you once had, because once I did, my life changed forever. If you stick around to the end of this video, what you'll realize is your life's actually been a cover up and now you're well on your way to be carving a life of discipline and success. But now that's out of the way, let me begin the video. The thing is, what I've seen time and time again is that most young guys that I talk to, most young guys that I come across, don't seem to have any goals, missions, or purpose. Like, they don't have anything that's going to move their life forwards. They don't have any direction and they don't have any goals set for themselves that's actually going to change their life and basically benefit their future selves. The thing about purpose and direction is it's literally the masculine epitome. If you're not setting goals, if you don't have a direction, you're not masculine. It's just that simple. The book, The Way of the Superior Man, really encompasses this. I'm gonna try and put a screenshot up or something that I've read so I can show you how important it is for you to set goals and basically have direction and purpose. Essentially, if you don't have direction and purpose as a guy, you're basically feminine, because the whole point of the masculine is to have a goal and destination. It's like getting from A to B, right? Being masculine is about getting from A to B. That's it. Without that, you don't have anything to obsess over, you don't have anything to go through. So then what ends up happening is you go through your day-to-day life without having anything to strive for and anything to work towards. What you need to do is think about what you really want for your life, what you really want for your future self, and just take active steps towards getting there. Once you have a goal, once you have a mission, once you have an outline for what you want, set up systems to get there. Let's say you want to lose 10 kilograms, set up a system for getting there. If you want to make £1,000 online in online business, set steps for getting there. If you want to get an A star in your school subject, set a mission for getting there. It doesn't matter what it is, doesn't matter what avenue of your life you're going towards, whether it's just even small things like eating healthy or going on getting more steps in. You need to set a mission, you need to set a system to achieving that. Otherwise it doesn't get done, because as humans, we tend to avoid the hard work, we tend to avoid the things that we know will benefit us. So as a start, literally sit down right now, turn your phone off, obviously after watching the video, turn your phone off, literally just sit there with a pen and paper and literally just look around your room, look around where you are and just think about what you really want from life. Strip away school, strip away social media, strip away what your friends want for you, because most often than not, they don't actually understand what you want. And another thing is that most people's friends aren't actually their friends, so they don't actually understand that. I've made a previous video on that, which you can probably find on my channel. If not, I could probably make a new one if that's what you want. But basically, what I'm going about is that you need to understand that when it comes to setting goals, it needs to be your decision. It can't be anyone else's, it can't be your friends, it can't be your parents, it needs to be what you want. It needs to be out of your own intellect, out of your own wisdom, and out of your own, basically, sort of self experiences. And the thing is, on top of that, it's not only that most men and most young guys that I speak to, most young guys that I help, that haven't just got a mission or a purpose. That's minor. Another thing which is deadly, and this is dangerous, is that on top of not having a mission or a purpose, most young guys are literally using social media, scrolling, and all these bad habits as a cover up. So what ends up happening is, not only do they have no mission or purpose, but they're putting a sheath over their lack of purpose by using social media and all these bad habits that basically prevent them from seeing that their life isn't actually good. The reason why so many guys do bad habits and playing video games and eating junk food and scrolling is because it's basically a way for them to shield themselves from the uncomfortability and the lack of awareness that they have. It's basically their way of bridging the gap between their real selves and who they are. Because their real selves will literally tell them, like, your real self will tell you that you're not making enough progress, you're not going to the gym as much as you should be, you're not eating the right foods, you're not training hard enough, you're not, you're being on TikTok for too long, you're doing all of these things that aren't beneficial. Your own real self will tell you that. And the thing is, you know that if you're not making enough progress, you know it right now that you're not making enough progress. And what you'll do is, and what most people will do, is that when they have this is their real self, right? The other self of them, which will scroll, play video games, eat junk food, watch porn, basically waste time, that part of themselves will hide over, like, the real self. So then what ends up happening is you're not actually living an authentic life. And if anything, you're living inauthentically. Bad habits are bad enough, right? They're just bad habits. Everyone knows that. For example, scrolling and wasting time isn't a good thing. Eating junk food isn't good for them, and like watching porn and stuff isn't good for them. Everyone kind of knows these things. But the thing about bad habits, which makes them horrible, is that they don't actually distract you from your purpose, but they also degenerate you. So for example, it's not that it's just covering up the mission and the purpose. So this is the mission and the purpose, right? That you authentically have. It's not just covering up the mission and the purpose. It's like the bad habits are covering over them, and then it's destroying your life and pushing your life that way because it's just degrading you. For example, all these bad habits, right? They mess up your dopamine, they mess up your nervous system, they basically reduce your ability to work for long periods of time, so they shorten your attention span. And all whilst doing this, that basically takes away from your ability to pursue goals and successfully achieve them, right? So let's say you're a student watching this. If you're scrolling all day and you're basically eating junk food and you're not eating nutritiously, that's going to affect your work whether you like to believe it or not. It doesn't matter how academic you are. The more you scroll, the more you eat junk food, the more your brain and your nervous system is going to react to that. And it's basically going to use the dopamine points and use all of these like your brain mechanisms for basically just doing those bad habits. So then at the end, what ends up happening is you have a reduced output for producing work, right? Let's say you can successfully write for 1 hour. Let's say you're doing writing for an hour. If you scroll that day and you eat junk food and you do all of these other bad habits before that, that time from 60 minutes goes down to like 35, right? So you've gone from 60 minutes of being able to be productive to 35, right? So then what ends up happening is you actually lose productivity and you actually lose your actual potential. And the thing is, it's actually inverse. Because let's say you're doing bad habits, if you start to do good habits, you move away from social media, you're getting sunlight, you're meditating, you're journaling, you're going on walks outside, you're talking to friends, your productivity actually increases because your brain's healing from all of the bad habits and you're actually increasing your ability to basically do more output. Now I've spoken about how like deleting social media is the way forward and moving away from like all these bad habits is the way forward. You need to understand that this isn't easy whatsoever. It's actually the hardest thing you can do in this generation, but also understand that if you beat these problems, you're at the top 1% straight away. Nothing else changes. If you just move away from these bad habits, you go from 99% to 1% because no one else, I'm telling you, has successfully moved away from social media, successfully basically removed all bad habits from their life like I have. And I had to make some major sacrifice. With me, I decided that I wanted to move away from social media, but I didn't actually do it for quite a while. And I remember when I did it in year 9 eventually, I went through a lot. When I deleted social media, people would mock me, people would heckle me, people would basically subconsciously push me away because I wasn't part of their groups anymore. I wasn't part of their herds, and I basically was a different person. When this happened, I remember I went through months and months of just being by myself essentially and having pretty much no friends. All because of deleting social media. You'd think that social media moving away from bad habits is good, right? What actually happened with me is that even though I moved away from bad habits, the people around me pushed me away. So essentially, as I was fixing my life, as I was improving, people saw that and they didn't like it. So what people did was they pushed me away and they basically removed me from their groups and didn't want me in their spaces. So sacrifice will be needed. You're going to go through hardships, you're going to go through difficulties, and you need to understand that this is part of the process. Like me getting pushed away from all the people from my year group back in year 9, basically being mocked and heckled at because I didn't use social media and basically because I deleted TikTok. Like people used to think it was a big deal if you deleted social media. And back then, if you were in year 9 and you were like a 14-year-old kid and everyone in your year group had been using social media, if you didn't, you'd be an outcast. And that's basically what happened to me. But with me, I'm super grateful for my younger self for doing that because now I'm in a position where I'm better than every single other person in my year group. Also, if you got to this part of the video, I'd really appreciate if you can like the video. That way I know that my content's helping you and you basically understood what I'm going at so far. It also helps me tell that what I'm saying is actually impactful and you're really understanding that moving away from these bad habits is actually the next step for you to make progress. Now I've spoken about like the itty gritty of how social media is bad and all of this, you've probably heard it 1,000 times. Now I want to talk about the actual processes that happen when that happens. And I'm not just going to say, oh, you get this positive effect. I'm going to tell you exactly the positive effects I experience and what actually moved forwards for me personally. And the first thing I'll say is that the happiness you feel once you fully move away from these bad habits and you've bridged the gap between the bad habits and you, is that the happiness you feel, it can't be replicated at all. It's the most astonishing feeling ever, and there's nothing quite like it. And what will happen is you'll walk around knowing that you're the happiest, most improved version of yourself, but you'll feel the most happiest you have in years. Like I remember when I fully moved away from social media and I moved away from all the negative people from my year group and all the negative people that I used to know, my life improved tremendously, but there was just this airy feeling in my feet. My mind was fresh. I just felt like I could genuinely progress now, because what tends to happen is, you can probably relate to this, but when you're around a negative group and you're around people that aren't actually supporting your goals and they don't want to actually see you achieve, which they won't tell you, what happens is that you just kind of feel like you have more. Like there's like a certain threshold that you have when you're around negative people and you're in like a negative environment. But then as soon as you leave that and you join a positive environment, you meet new friends, you go on dates with new people. Like when that happens and you start talking to new girls, for example, there's just like an airy feeling in your feet and you just feel happier, you feel healthier, and there's just more room for potential of you growing. What I want you to do is pursue healthier, good habits, right? Moving away from the bad habits is tough as it is, but what makes it easier is incorporating good habits as you are trying to move away from the bad habits and eliminating them. For example, there's so many good habits that I've incorporated and my life's changed from them. Going on walks more, going out with friends, getting morning sunlight, basically doing the things that your future self would be happy with. For example, ask yourself this one question: is what I'm going to do right now going to harm my future self or benefit from my future self? When I started adding that framework into my day-to-day life and I started to think like that, my life improved, and all of these habits I'm mentioning basically just benefited my future self, right? Getting morning sunlight, going on walks, meditating, journaling, allowing yourself to feel emotions. Doing these things will basically allow you to make progress, and it will basically accelerate your growth faster than anything else. And I know loads of people struggle with like moving away from bad habits, but a simple way that can actually help is just be outside of your house more, right? So many people fall victim to doing bad habits when they're at home. For example, eating junk food, watching porn, doing all of these bad habits when you're at home. You tend to do these things. So just be outside more, go outside, meet up with friends, go on walks, do things that basically put you out the house and get you off your phone. So if you do as I follow in this video and you basically learned and understood the things that I've done and you basically took notes on what you can do, your life will do a complete 180. Where you are right now, if you follow what I'm saying for the next 3 weeks, your life will look, feel, and seem fundamentally different to every single other person that's around you. And more importantly, you'll know it. If you like what I said in this video, make sure you like and subscribe, as it really helps my channel out. You also get immediate access to any new piece of content I release. I talk about problems that no one else talks about because I understand the younger generation more than anyone in the space. Before I go, there's always one last thing I say, and it's that always strive for excellence, because great things will come your way.